Ms. Canterbury.
Thank you and good day, Chairman Issa, Ranking Member Cummings, members of the committee. The FDA spied on whistleblowers, which set off a firestorm that led us to this hearing today. But the public story of whistleblowers began in 2008 when FDA physicians and scientists warned Congress and shortly thereafter the President that the process for approving medical devices was broken, allowing potentially ineffective and unsafe products to be marketed. And as Senator Grassley noted, there have long been problems with bureaucrats at the FDA respecting the scientific process. The report released today by Chairman Issa and Senator Grassley and the HHS IG report document how FDA surveillance of whistleblowers was reckless and heedless of legal limits and whistleblower protections. Certainly, security concerns and available technology will outstrip constitutional rights and whistleblower protections unless Congress works to balance those goals. To be frank, we question why FDA should be in the surveillance business in the first place. The FDA's mission is to ensure our food and drugs and devices are safe. Any suspicion of unlawful disclosures of information or criminal misconduct should be investigated by law enforcement. Federal agencies cannot be allowed to police themselves, and that is why we have IGs, the OSC, the FBI, and Congress. Even with just cause and proper controls, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to protect whistleblowers if agencies are allowed to gather electronic evidence without limits or oversight. And to what end? The Issa Grassley report shows the leaks of confidential information to the press were not confirmed by this pervasive, invasive electronic surveillance. And so, as with the NSA domestic surveillance, the risks to our rights may be greater than the ability of the surveillance to protect against risks to security, much less claims of harm to trade secrets or harm to profits. No doubt the FDA is in a tough spot, attempting to put into place a process that is more prescribed for surveillance critics, but also placating the lawyers for drug and device companies that demand that information be kept confidential. Needless to say, the FDA does not have it right yet. Rather than protect whistleblowers from unwarranted FDA surveillance, its interim policy protects the FDA from whistleblowers. It shields it from accountability. Nothing in the FDA's interim policy would prevent FDA managers from using information collected by the surveillance as retaliation for whistleblowing. Thus, this policy does little to lift the chilling effect that fosters wrongdoing. How can the FDA ensure the public's health and safety if the scientists and physicians are too afraid to come over when deadly mistakes are made? And far too many mistakes are made. Inadequately tested metal-on-metal hip replacements cause crippling disability, defective cardiac defibrillators, unclean syringes containing deadly bacteria, old-fashioned pediatric feeding tubes cause fatalities because they lacked a well-known, inexpensive safeguard. And these are just the medical devices that the FDA allowed on the market, not to mention the food and drug approval disasters. And if the FDA isn't doing its job and lives are at risk, we have to ask why. The FDA whistleblowers warned us that corners were being cut and scientists were being overruled by the bureaucrats. We need whistleblowers. However, it is worth noting that throughout Mr. Harris's testimony, there was no acknowledgement of the public interest in protecting whistleblowers, only of employee protections. Yet it is well known that whistleblowers save lives and taxpayer dollars and are among the best partners in crime fighting. Congress protected public whistleblowing so that waste, fraud, and abuse and threats to public health and safety would be known. As Senator Grassley said, you couldn't do the majority of the oversight this body does without whistleblowers and without the media. But the FDA policies do nothing to encourage or safeguard public whistleblowing, which is protected so long as the disclosure of information is not prohibited under law. They claim to exclude from surveillance in their interim policy the targeting of disclosures to Congress, the OSC, and others. But this is not enough. A legal review at the front end will not prevent legal public whistleblowing collected through spying from falling into the hands of those in a position to retaliate. Clearly, the FDA and other agencies will not get this right on their own. Congress and the President must mandate a government-wide policy to prevent future surveillance abuses. Of course, interfering with communications to Congress and retaliating for whistleblowing is already against the law, and there are some protections for the identities of whistleblowers in other laws, but Congress should consider specifically protecting the identity of a whistleblower in any surveillance that is done by an agency. Today, we don't nearly know enough about the scope of surveillance across the government. I encourage you to order a report, a study looking at this issue. I encourage you to conduct oversight over other concerns with national security and insider threat programs that might threaten whistleblowers. But importantly, we must not forget what brought us here today, which is the FDA whistleblowers. They were concerned about the device approval process they believed might put lives at risk. FDA officials should not be held accountable for approving ineffective and unsafe products, and flawed devices must be taken off the market. There must be more transparency and less deference to the demands for confidentiality by drug and device companies. Seriously, I wonder how much time and taxpayer dollars is spent protecting so-called confidential commercial information. Finally, please do all you can to ensure that FDA managers are held accountable for any violations of the rights of the scientists and physicians who sought to make medical devices more safe and more effective. Thank you.
Thank you.